Hello, my friend, and welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Machbitz, and today is a solo episode of the podcast. So let's jump right in. What separates the best, most elite, most consistent performers from everybody else? Well, I've spent years studying peak performance, analyzing and coaching athletes, and competing at very high levels of sport in my own playing career. And the real truth, what I found out, the real truth is greatness isn't about talent. It's about 5 core principles that anyone can master no matter what domain you live in, no matter what your job or occupation is or what you do. You can master these 5 core principles that will bring out the best in you. So here's actually what separates the best from the rest. Number 1, it truly does start with preparation. Don't practice more, practice smarter. There are 3 key elements of elite preparation. You have purposeful practice, psychological readiness, and performance planning. I mean, you look at Alex Honnold, right? The rock climber, right? He practiced for years before climbing El Cap. Then you have 2 of the most prepared athletes of all time and 2 of the most successful athletes of all time in Derek Jeter and Tom Brady. Their preparation was so elite that when the lights were on the brightest, they just think, oh, this is just another game. This is just another baseball game, even though I'm going for a three-peat with the New York Yankees. This is just another game, even though I'm going for my 7th Super Bowl, right? Because they prepared like every single game is the most important game. So when it became to the big game or the Super Bowl or the World Series or whatever it is, they were able to show up as their very best because they prepared in an elite way each and every single day, no matter the circumstances. And then you think how preparation might relate to confidence. Well, when we're thinking about confidence has sort of 3 areas that we can train so we can have more confidence heading into whatever sort of competition or presentation that we're about to do. Because confidence means intense trust in oneself. And so you can build that confidence through your previous successes, through your preparation, and through your self-talk. Your self-talk is going to be the most important thing to drive our confidence when we're in the midst of that performance. So we have to get really good at mastering our self-talk, challenging those negative thoughts, and being able to reframe them into something positive and credible that is going to uplift us and increase our confidence. But before we even step on the field of play, whatever that might look like, our previous successes have a lot to do with it, but our preparation is going to be the most important thing that we do. I mean, think about it in the most simplest terms. You're in school, you have a test coming up on Friday. Do you feel more confident walking into that test if you're as prepared as possible or you didn't study one bit? You're going to be so much more confident if you walk into that test as prepared as humanly possible. That's as simple as it is. So we can take that in any domain or any context that we live in, that I'm going to be as prepared as possible. It's a thing that's totally in your control. It requires 0 talent. It just requires effort. And if you really want to be the best you can possibly be, then you might as well have this elite preparation like Derek Jeter and Tom Brady and Alex Honnold, right? You might want to do that because you can see that these guys can produce and perform at the highest levels with the most pressure on them because they have prepared in the most elite way possible. And so when they think about their confidence or having intense trust in themselves, they think about their previous successes, which gives them that credibility. They master their self-talk, but they also prepare in an elite way, knowing they can handle whatever might come their way through that preparation. And so number 1 is going to be, it starts with preparation. And then we go into number 2. The second principle is immersion. The ability to be fully present and locked into the present moment. Think about it like this. You have awareness plus focus plus commitment equals immersion. Immersion is totally being in the present moment, being exactly where your feet are, thinking what's important now, this moment right here. It's all I have. I am immersed in this moment. And I'm using my spotlight of attention like a flashlight, and the flashlight is solely on the present moment. I am immersed in this moment. The best in the world at whatever they do, are immersed, totally, fully present and locked into the present moment because of awareness, because of focus, because of commitment. You put all three of those together, you are aware, you're totally focused using that spotlight of attention, that flashlight of attention on what's most important now, and you're fully committed to being there, then you are immersed. The greats have mastered the art of blocking out distractions and staying laser focused on what matters. Constantly asking yourself this question of what's important now. That's the definition of win. If you are fully in the present moment, if you are exactly where your feet are, then you're winning. The outcome doesn't matter because we can't focus on that. It constricts us. It doesn't allow us to play loose and free. So if we think of the new definition of winning, especially if you're not in sport, if you're just in your life, the new definition of winning is being in the present moment. And so we can think, if I win, I'm thinking about what's important now. So I'm right here having this conversation, being with this, doing this. I'm exactly where my feet are. And we can do this through like a 3-step process. You cue your conviction. So what do you want to happen, right? Cue your conviction. And then you take a deep breath. So you center yourself and then you put your spotlight of attention. So if you think what's important now, then you go through those 3 steps of cue your conviction, take a deep breath, and then put your spotlight of attention. It's the same thing of awareness, focus, commitment. It's just actually 3 steps you can actually do. You cue your conviction. What do you want to happen? Okay, great. I'm taking a deep breath. Remember, when we breathe, we want to breathe into the diaphragm, into the nose, expand that belly, and then push everything out. And then we have a spotlight of attention. Where's our flashlight going? What are we laser focusing on? Because that's what's most important now. And so, again, the second principle is going to be immersion, or being fully locked in to the present moment. And then we go to the third principle, which is adaptability, which is probably my favorite core principle because, the name of my company is Champions Adjust. If you're watching this on video, you can see the Champions Adjust hat, Champions Adjust shirt. You can go to champsadjust.com for all your apparel and performance and mental skills classes. But without the plugs, the third principle is going to be adaptability, right? Elite performers aren't just good at executing, they're exceptional at adjusting when things going wrong. Again, hence the name why my mindset program is called Champions Adjust, because you have to be able to adjust to the unfolding environment. There's this guy named Brad Stolberg who calls it rugged flexibility. Yes, I'm very sort of rugged in my core beliefs and my values and who I am, but I'm flexible because the environment is so uncertain that I don't know what's going to happen. There's so many things that are outside of my control that I'm going to be able to adapt and pivot to the unfolding environment while being exactly where my feet are. So yes, elite performers aren't just good at executing, they're exceptional at adjusting and pivoting and going sort of with the flow and being flexible, right? This requires, like I said, psychological flexibility. It requires creative problem solving. That's why athletes should be allowed and encouraged to be creative, to let those juices flow, because to be adaptable, to be adjustable, you have to have creative problem solving, and they also learn rapidly from feedback. They're seeing things happen in real time. They're taking that feedback, they're learning from it, and then they're going out and they're changing, they're adjusting, they're moving what maybe they see on defense or what the pitcher just threw, right? It allows them to get feedback immediately, then they're adapting for the next pitch, for the next play, so they can be better moving forward. So one of the core principles, the third core principle of being the absolute best you can be, what separates the best from the rest, is their ability to adapt, to adjust, and to pivot, and to be flexible, right? Because they're focused on the things they can control, which is their attitude, their effort, and how they respond. So they're not worried about the things they can't control. So yes, they're able to adapt and pivot because champions adjust. Again, you can go to champsadjust.com for all your mental skills classes. And then we have the fourth principle, which is energy management. Most people think peak performance is about being pumped up all the time. The reality, it's about finding your optimal energy state. There are always going to be guys who are fired up, pumped up, got to listen to this music, they're juiced. There's always going to be those guys that are sort of just chill, their emotion doesn't change. You got to find your optimal energy state, right? Not everything is going to work for everyone all the time. There are some core principles like we're talking about here, and there are some very important values that we want to represent, but you do have to find what works for you and your unique makeup and who you are as an athlete or as a person or as a performer or whatever, because if you have too much energy, that equals anxiety. If you have too little, that's, lethargic. If you're just right, You're in the flow state. What's the flow state? The flow state is the most optimal state a performer can be in. And so we want to get in the flow state as often as possible. And we have to know what triggers lead us to the flow state. And so when we get our energy just right, we get into that flow state, and that's beautiful. And our energy is extremely important, which is why we have to work really hard on our rest and recovery. Because if we want to be the best in the world at anything, or we just want to be the best version of ourselves at anything, then we have to eat well, move well, sleep well, and think well. That's about understanding our energy, because if we have no energy, then we can't go into what we truly care about with our best with our best selves, or with our most juice, because we haven't prioritized rest and recovery. We haven't prioritized optimizing our energy. So really we're sort of useless when it comes to bringing out the best of ourselves, because we haven't prioritized our sleep, our eating, our moving, our rest to optimize our energy. Because the best athletes in the world are able to show up day in and day out and go to the edge of their capacity. Now, if we want to replicate that in our own lives about showing up day in and day out as the best version of ourselves, then we have to take care of ourselves like a professional athlete would, which means eating well, moving well, sleeping well, and thinking well, which means prioritizing our rest and recovery just as much as prioritizing the work. And so that's also about maintaining our energy levels and allowing ourselves to find that optimal state of energy, because that fourth principle is energy management, and that's extremely, extremely important if we're trying to draw out the best of ourselves on the most consistent basis. And the fourth principle, one of my most favorite mental skills and one of my most favorite principles, something I talk about consistently all the time, which I think every human being on the planet needs to master if they want to flourish in this life. The final principle is resilience. It's not just about bouncing back, but it's about bouncing forward. The best use setbacks as fuel for growth. And the key elements are having that growth mindset, that social support, having a clear purpose, and a strong self-belief. And those are all things that you can grow, that you can train, and that you can adapt to. Resiliency is about understanding the mantra. My favorite mantra, my number one mantra, is OHMS. Obstacles make me stronger. Okay? Everything in life, most everything, again, not every single thing, but most things in life can be used as fuel for growth. The setbacks, the challenges, the obstacles, the errors, the mistakes can be used as fuel for growth. Again, what makes great athletes great is their ability to use feedback, rapidly learn, change, adapt, and grow and move forward. We can do that in our own life. We get feedback all the time. We make mistakes all the time. Great. Let's use those setbacks, the challenges. When we fall down, let's get back up. Let's get better. Let's change something. Let's adapt. Let's be flexible. Let's move forward with a better choice, with a better decision, with a better idea of where we're going. That's resiliency. It's not just bouncing up. It's fall 7, rise 8, and then rise 8 and bounce one step forward, because we're using everything in our life as fuel for growth. We're using those obstacles to make us stronger. Because why not? Because why not? Life is never going to go smooth. It's never going to be perfect. It's not just going to be like la-di-da-di-da. No, it's going to be up, down, sideways, up, down, and you're going to have to spiral up. You have to spiral up, and you have to spiral up, and you have to use everything that happens to you as your ability to draw the best out in you, so that you can use these setbacks, these challenges as fuel for growth, so you can see how capable, how strong, how unbelievably talented and gifted you truly are when you use these psychological and mental skills to draw out the best in you with, right, the growth mindset, having that great social support, finding that clear purpose, right, and having that strong sense of self-belief. And you continue to believe in yourself more and more as you prove to yourself you are this person who can bounce forward after mistakes. And those are amazing. I mean, that's amazing. And so when we think about, again, let's go through, those are the 5 principles. Let's go through them one more time. It starts with preparation, right? Then we move to the second principle of immersion. Then we move to the third principle of adaptability. Then we move to the fourth principle of energy management. And the last final principle we just talked about is resilience. These aren't just innate traits. They're learnable skills. That's the most powerful part of this whole episode. They're not innate traits. You're not just born with this, or you're not, right? They're learnable, trainable skills. You learn how to read, you learn how to ride a bike, you learn how to, do all of these things in your life. These are the same sort of core principles that you can learn and train and grow at. With deliberate practice and the right framework, anyone Anyone can develop these capabilities. Anyone can develop these capabilities, right? You master these 5 elements and you can achieve your version of greatness. You can achieve your version of success, whatever that might look like. Because remember, greatness just isn't reserved for the naturally gifted. It's reserved and available to anyone willing to learn the principles, practice deliberately, and stay committed to growth, right? The path is very, very clear. The only question is, will you answer the call? And thank you. I had to put that drama in at the end. But thank you very much for tuning into that episode. Please, if you enjoyed it, found it valuable at all, please share it with a friend. That's the best marketing tool we have for this podcast. But other than that, I appreciate you very, very much. And I'll see you guys next time. Lots of love. Cheers. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.